All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Tuesday, April 1st. No, I do not have any April Fool's jokes or anything like that planned, so apologies if you're looking for that, but this dumb brain couldn't think of anything. But we got Tuesday, April 1st, 13 games on today's MLB slate to dive into, like we always do. I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays, like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That'll take you to all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, it's absolutely free down in the pinned comment. All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. I tell you guys I'm a dummy all the time. They don't suck. They've just been sucking. Get them down to -3, 4 more juice than Jose Canseco in his prime. Tell me you're new without telling me you're new. So don't go jumping down my throat in the comments, right? If you want to fade me, or if you do want to ride me, this still leaves a bad taste in my mouth, right? And remember, more chins, more wins. In terms of how we made out yesterday, not the best day to close out March. Still having a decent MLB season to start the year, which is great to say, but a 4 and 5 day yesterday. And the only thing that I'm really sour about, we had some really good looks yesterday, some really bad looks. Two of the worst looks were the ones that we added in like 30 minutes before those, the early games, which was Rob Refsnyder under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, and then the White Sox team total under 3.5. Both of those just like that, you know what I mean? Refsnyder in like the third inning gets a hit, and then he eventually comes home to score, and the White Sox scored 1,000,000 runs like in the first 2 innings. So yeah, without those two late ads, which I'm kicking myself for, we might have had a decent day there, right? It would have been a 4 and 3 day, but overall, woulda, coulda, shoulda doesn't get you by in this industry, right? Pirates Rays first 5 under, and the Nerfy, both of those cash. They were kind of tied together, right? Those kind of correlate to some degree. And speaking of correlation, our next two losses kind of correlate. Tigers, Mariners first 5 under, and then Emerson Hancock. Boy, did I expect more out of him, and you know what? Didn't get it. Astros money line, I'd still roll that one back. I mean, maybe I was missing something, but still think they're the better team. Cubs money line, they crushed, and then Padres team total, that was a no sweat as well. So like I said, there were some good looks in there, but those last two just feel like I got bit on the ass or something like that. But guys, we do have a decent sized MLB slate, like I said, to jump into in today's video. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Make sure you're hitting that subscribe button. Took me 4 tries to get there. That's your April Fool's joke. And also make sure you guys are throwing your favorite plays down in the comments, because I've been seeing some great plays. I mentioned it in yesterday's video. There are plays that, I didn't even stumble across or even think to open that door and look at. And you guys are throwing in the comments and winning and helping a lot of people out. So go ahead and keep doing that. If you have been doing that, do not stop. And if you want to throw your plays down in the comments, go for it. Get some discussion, get some feedback there as well. But what do you say we dive into today's slate? Started off with Miami taking on the Mets. So we have Alcantara on the mound for the Mets, going up against Kodai Senga. Alcantara on the mound for Miami. I can't talk today. Maybe April Fool's is playing a joke on me and I'm not aware. But Kodai Senga's on the mound for the Mets. Alcantara is on the mound for the Marlins. Sandy looked okay in his first start, right? Now, it was against a lineup that I'm not all that high on, which is Pittsburgh's lineup. But like I said, he was okay. 5-4 win for Miami, but he went 4 2/3, just 2 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks. Some of those runs were related to the fact that he walked 4 guys, which that's obviously a little bit of an issue, but still pitched fairly well. But again, the walks kind of being the trouble, which could be troublesome today because this Mets team was, against righties last season, the 7th most walk team, so they will work their walks there as well. Senga's on the mound. He has not pitched yet this season, but obviously had a really good year last year, and he has some good numbers against this Miami ball club. Last 3 games against them, he's pitched over 5 innings. He's only allowed 4 hits per game, 1.7 earned runs, averaging 6 strikeouts as well. So decent look for Senga overall, and he's going to throw a ton of fastballs, which we should know. I think nearly 60% of his pitch mix last year was fastballs, which is crazy. This Miami team cannot even come close to hitting a fastball, and I still don't trust their lineup. The top of that order looks okay and has, been okay and maybe will be okay, but nothing like the top of the order, I would say, of this Mets team. So I'm going to lean towards the Mets in this spot. They're at -152 right now. Honestly, I was thinking about this and kind of projecting at -160, so that's 8 cents of value, at least in my brain. So yeah, that's probably going to be the side that we're on. In terms of a total, I like the Mets team total over. I'm seeing two ships passing the night. I'm hoping Senga can kind of step up and pitch well. And again, I don't really believe in this Miami offense, even though they haven't looked terrible. But I'd say this Mets offense should be able to go out there and get you 4 runs today. So I'll lean towards the Mets team total over in that spot. I do have a player prop that I'm considering. When I say considering, it is kind of a fringe chance to be a final play here, but it's Juan Soto, over 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. He has some really good numbers against Sandy Alcantara and a decent amount of a sample size here. 44 plate appearances against. He's batting .289 with a .390 on base percentage, 11 hits, 2 home runs, 5 RBIs, striking out just 13.6% of the time. Against right-handed pitchers, this is from last year, .293 average, which is about 5 points higher than his overall average, and his WRC plus jumps up to over 180. So I like the idea of him hits, runs, and RBIs. I would say my only concern, and it's just, not really a concern, but he's been kind of playing well, right? He has a hit and an RBI or hit and a run in 3 straight games. He had a hit in his first game against Houston there, so it's like, is he due for kind of a letdown game in a spot in which everyone thinks it's going to be great? Potentially, but I do still think it's a good spot for him. Next up, we have Cincinnati taking on Tejas. We have Carson Spears in the mound for Cincinnati going up against Nate Eovaldi. I don't think there's any hiding who is the better pitcher in this matchup. Sure, we've seen Carson Spears look really good at times, but we've also seen some blow-ups, and I expect him in his first start of the season to have a potential struggle, I guess. Now, the one thing that would counter that is I think Texas's offense's own worst enemy is not another pitcher. It's almost themselves right now. We haven't seen any boom out of this offense, and in fact, even last year we saw them struggle at plenty of times, right? It's like they're not that World Series team that they were a few years back. But Eovaldi is a really good pitcher, and I kind of trust him in this spot. So, and he looked good against the Red Sox, which I would say was a good feat, right? My concern is that if I do want to back Eovaldi, how do we do that? Because I don't know if I fully want to trust Texas's offense. And the only other thing that I could think of, okay, well, backing Eovaldi, maybe we look at his under-earned runs for him, right? Or we look at Cincinnati's team total under. But we're playing in Great American Ballpark, which is a runs galore ballpark. And Eovaldi is a guy that throws, and leans towards the velocity side of how he pitches, right? We know that those guys, tend to, I wouldn't say struggle, but maybe flip it. Say Cincinnati hits those guys well, right? Like they're more inclined to hit a guy that throws a lot of fastballs, a lot of splitters, a lot of cutters, like Eovaldi does. So I'd say Cincinnati team total under, and or maybe just backing Eovaldi, saying, okay, Eovaldi, go out there and pitch well. We'll take your, earned runs under. I guess that's the way that I would do this. But again, I'm kind of shaking in my boots there because we are playing in Great American Ballpark. So if I had to take a money line side, it would be the Rangers, and that might ultimately be what we end up doing, because as much as I'm saying this is a ballpark that, produces runs and whatnot, maybe Texas will go out there and score some runs, but yesterday they only scored 3 runs, right? Cincinnati went off, and they've only gone 2-4-4, 3-2, if I have that correctly, in terms of how many runs they've scored this year. Like, we've yet to see them do much in terms of pop-off. Cincinnati finally got it going yesterday. Those are my concerns. But I like Texas. I like Cincinnati team total under, and I also like Nate Eovaldi here in terms of his earned runs under. Keep an eye on the final plays to see what we kind of ultimately end up rolling with there, because there's definitely potential, but it's almost like I've given a decent argument on the other side of everything that I've talked about, right? So that's a tough spot to be in, honestly. Real quick, guys, before we move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Prize Picks. It is Tuesday, and they got Taco Tuesday going on today. No April Fools over there, but Taco Tuesday, if you don't know what it is, I'll talk about it in a second, but that's not even the best thing that they have going on. That's an amazing promo that they've done for years, and they've done it for years, right? But this Play 5, so you just place a $5 entry, get $50, might be the biggest no-brainer of all time. You place a $5 entry as a new customer, right? You will instantly get $50 into your account. You just 10x'd that entry, and what if that $5 entry hits, right? It's not even a what if. If you're good at picking player props and whatnot, you might hit that $5 entry. You get to keep that payout as well. All of a sudden, you have a nice little bankroll in Prize Picks. So if you have not tried it out and you've seen Prize Picks all over, let today be the day that you say, you know what, screw it. I'm going to do 5 and turn it into 50 over there. You can use code GUYBOSSON or just use the link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. And like I said, it's Taco Tuesday, so there are going to be a bunch of discounted squares throughout the day, meaning those $5 plays that you want to throw in, right? might be more likely to hit because you're going to get a discounted line on some players. So go ahead and check it out. That link, like I said, will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Super, super fun app. I'm sure you've seen it all over. Again, if you have not tried it, have not signed up, maybe today is the day because you get this deal and it is Taco Tuesday. No April Fools about it. The deal is that good. Go ahead and check it out. But let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of these games here. All right, Tampa Bay taking on Pittsburgh. Shane Bay's on the mound for Tampa Bay. And Thomas Harrington, I believe his first name is, on the mound for Pittsburgh. We haven't seen any MLB, action from him. He's been in the minors. I guess you could say his numbers look pretty good, but again, that's all in the minors. And he went from single A plus to single A to double A to triple A, all within like a year and a half. So obviously a young talent year for the Pirates. And to some degree, I should say, I am going to trust the pitching in this one. Now, my first play might be to look at the first 5 under versus getting into any side or anything like that, right? You can get an under 5.5 today in the first 5 for minus 155. Actually, it looks like it's moved to minus 160. I still don't mind it there, but that means you can get under 4.5 for plus money. So that's definitely worth consideration for me today. I know the pitching might be a little shaky, and you're sitting there being like, yikes, we don't know much about Harrington. Shane Bays has looked okay in some games, but we've also seen him struggle and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, all that is very, very fair. But what I will say is I don't trust either one of these offenses. Yesterday we saw, a momentum type of a swing in which Tampa Bay made us sweat out this very play, right? But without those 4 runs that came in that short period of time, this game was 2-1 outside of that, right? Like, it's not exactly, and we still ended up hitting that first 500, but Tampa Bay scored 4 and made it really sketchy. But I don't believe in either one of these offenses at least as of right now. So yeah, I'm going to sit here and say under 5.5 in the first 5. Seems like it's a no-brainer to me, and no-brainers don't always pan out, but I'm going to probably end up rolling with that again. You're getting minus 160. I saw it minus 140, minus 155 earlier, didn't roll with it, so minus 160 over on MGM. I wouldn't play this, into the minus 170s. You guys know my threshold's usually around minus 165. But still, if you want to go with the 4.5 and get plus money, you could still do that, right? In terms of a side here, I would lean Tampa Bay. I think that I just think that they have a slightly better offense, which is crazy to say because I'm not all that big of a buyer on this Tampa Bay offense. So those are 2 spots that I would look at here in this one. I also don't mind backing, Shane Baz's, I keep saying his name multiple different ways each time, but I don't mind his strikeouts, hits allowed, or even taking a peek at his under in his earned runs. So those are all things of consideration today. Let's see what his earned runs is. I don't have that up in front of me. His strikeouts was 3.5. His hits allowed was 3.5. Or strikeouts 4.5. Hits allowed 3.5. The under is plus money right now. Let's see. Yeah, under 1.5 earned runs. Kind of hoping for a 2.5, but under 1.5 for plus money. Not all that opposed to that. Again, I don't think this Pittsburgh offense is all that good. All right, Yankees taking on the D-backs. This is probably one of the best games on the board, if not the best game, at least in my opinion, today. We get the Yankees. You can get them at minus 110 if you like them right now. Arizona, obviously, plus money. Corbin Burns on the bump for Arizona, which is really exciting to see. Obviously, him with a new squad. He's got some really good numbers against this Yankees lineup, so the current guys that are on their team in 104 plate appearances against. So 104, 33% K rate, a walk rate under 5, an average against of 212. You're probably thinking, what's the expected batting average against? 217, a WOBA of 253, ex-WOBA, expected WOBA of 257, and an expected slugging of 330. So I do think that Corbin Burns should be, to some degree, good to go here in this matchup. This Yankees lineup is scary. I don't think that anyone's going to sit there and tell you otherwise, right? Like, this is obviously a very, very scary lineup that can dominate probably any pitcher. That being said, Corbin Burns with a plus number attached to him seems like it could be a spot for me today. And obviously, I do like the Diamondbacks a hell of a lot. I've liked them for a couple years now. And again, you're getting plus money with them. I think this might be a Diamondbacks roll spot for me. Now, if you don't like the idea of them and you just want to trust their offense, I don't mind the idea of them over 3.5, right? They're going up against Will Warren today, who he has no experience against this Diamondbacks team, and obviously vice versa. He did pitch, 5 starts last year, ERA of 10.6 10 point something, so not all that great. I expect them to be able to get to him to some degree overall. He's going to throw a lot of fastballs. Arizona last year, number 1 in terms of runs above average against the fastball. The slider they struggled a little bit against, but then the sinker is his next pitch, and they were top 4 in terms of hitting the sinker via runs above average. So they crush righties. I expect, Corbin Burns to go out there and at least shove to some degree and give them a chance. So Arizona or Arizona team total over. If you're afraid of the Yankees lineup, which is valid, maybe you pivot to a team total over. You're not going to get plus money, but it could still be a decent look. You know what I mean? All right, Toronto taking on Washington. Jose Barrios on the mound for Toronto, going up against Trevor Williams. Jose Barrios does not have very good numbers against his Washington ball club. I think that is very much worth noting. 45 plate appearances against, so it's up to you if you want to say that that's a small or medium sample size. Just a 13.3% K rate. Average against of 286. Not terrible, not great, but an expected batting average of 360 against, an xWOB of 406, and an x-slugging of 537. So all that kind of screams maybe this is a spot to look at Washington, but on the flip side, and I guess it is kind of a flip, like this Washington team, I don't think that we can sit here and say we have all of our trust in, right? Like they looked okay in that one game against Philadelphia. I guess they scored 6 runs in that game that Philly put up a big number, but they only scored 2 runs yesterday. Bowden Francis looked like a stud. This is probably a play that's priced out if you do like Toronto. So I think by default, I'm going to consider Washington. But yeah, because of the Barrios numbers, I think that's tough for me to even justify the idea of, paying minus 165 for this Toronto team. So hell, I'll sound the psycho alert alarm. I don't love Trevor Williams necessarily in this spot, but he does throw a lot of fastballs. That's not Toronto's best pitch to hit overall. He's going to throw changeup, slider, and sinker. Those pitches get a little bit better, especially the slider. So sure, the offense of Toronto could scare me a little bit, but like I mentioned, I really don't want to sit here and be like, oh, Jose Barrios is going to, just shove against his Washington team. He hasn't. I mean, and you do have some guys, he struggles against left-handed hitters, right? Think about the first 3 bats in those lineups. Abrams, you even have Garcia, Lowe or Lau. Like there are some bats in this lineup that he's going to struggle against. And I think it's like 6 out of the 9 today projected lefties with switch hitters included. So yeah, this could definitely be a spot for Washington. If you are worried about them in, or I guess Toronto's offense, like I kind of mentioned, you guys know what I'm going to say. It's like a broken record play at this point, but that's the beauty of baseball. There's so many ways to beat around the bush and kind of get to the result you want without having to include fluff. Like if we're worried that Toronto could get to Trevor Williams, why wouldn't we just say, okay, well, I like the idea of Barrios stinking and some of the guys in those lineups, so we can look at Washington team total over 3.5. There you go. Problem solved, right? We don't have to include all those other variables. So maybe those are some spots as well. Another way of going about it might be, okay, well, Jose Barrios, right? His outs line right now is at 17.5. So he needs to pitch 18 outs, 6 innings to cash that. If we look at the under, you're getting plus 120 for under 17.5. Maybe that's a look. He only went, 15 or 16 in that first game. Now that was against Baltimore, a little bit better of an offense. But, this is what I mean by there are some things that we can kind of beat around the bush and get to without having to truly back Washington. Like, there's ways that we can just fade Barrios. So keep an eye on the final plays. Maybe we do something, in relation to that. All right, White Sox, Minnesota. We got burned with this one yesterday. Like I said, we had White Sox team total under, and that was very, very short-lived. Now we have Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound for this Minnesota team who obviously didn't, I wasn't thrilled with his season last year, but he definitely had some spots where it's like, okay, the dude's pitching well, right? On the other side is Shane Smith, who I don't have too much to go off of here, if I'm being completely honest. So take anything I say about him with a grain of salt and whatnot. But yeah, I think that's probably the best way of putting it. Is this his major league debut? I almost want to say that that's the case. Don't quote me on that, though. But overall, this is, I would say Minnesota bounces back here. I was surprised to see that final score and see that game and watch it yesterday. So, yeah, Minnesota kind of looking to get off the, either take a shit or get off the pot, right? And they have lost now 4 straight games to start the year. They also lost 4 straight to close out last year. If we dial back to last year, they've lost 9 of their last 10 games. Obviously, that's a little bit different, but their most recent win, again, 9 of their last 10, so that one win, would you look at that? It was Simeon Woods Richardson pitching. So maybe that means something. I don't mind Minnesota in this spot if you can get them in the minus 160s. I've seen plenty of minus 170s out there. That's a little bit too far for me as of right now, but I do think at some point they end up, getting the job done here. So yeah, minus 165 on ESPN looks like your best value right now. And when I say value, it's not all that much, but like I said, I think this should be minus 175 towards minus 180. So screw it. We might just like Minnesota here in terms of them going out there and winning this one and finally getting their first win. I don't believe in the Chicago lineup. I know we got comments, and shout out to you guys. I love the discourse in the comments. People being like, no, this lineup is going to be a lot better than you think, and blah, blah, blah. It's like we saw opening day and then yesterday against two terrible teams, right? Minnesota did not look good yesterday. Other than that, we've seen a Chicago team that had 0 runs and 2 runs. Like, I'm not buying what the White Sox are selling just yet. If they want, I didn't take their under or team total under or anything like that this season. So I'm not a White Sox hater, but I'm not going to throw a parade for 2 decent scoring games against 2 bad teams, all at home so far. So let's just pump the brakes there. Give me Minnesota. In terms of a total, I'd probably look at White Sox team total under and then no player props in this one. Real quick, using our dashboard, I'll walk you through how to get access to this dashboard in just a second. Obviously, we have no data on the White Sox pitcher, so that'll probably be looking a little bit better when he makes his next start. But right here, I wanted to point out a couple things. So Simeon Woods Richardson is going to throw the fastball, the slider, and the changeup. Look at this. This is the pitch mix against, right? So the batting runs above average. So pretty much how well do you hit that pitch? Fastball, 30th. Slider, 30th. 30th the changeup. All 3 pitches that Woods Richardson's going to throw, yikes. Dead last a season ago. Obviously, these guys didn't have good numbers against right-handed pitchers either. And up here, yeah, this Twins lineup it looks good against a right-handed pitcher. Maybe we'll see them kind of finally come out of their shell here. So just using this dashboard even still, you can see this pitch mix against this White Sox roster, White Sox batting should be in a pretty good situation overall. And the way to get access to that dashboard is over on the Guy Boston Sports site, GuyBostonSports.com. Members area. We have 2 dashboards available right now, NBA dashboard and MLB. I'm not logged in, so you will see what you're going to see if you have not signed up yet. It says membership required. We see view membership levels. There are 3 levels. You get the all sports dashboard, meaning you get the NBA dashboard, which looks a little bit like that. We have a video kind of previewing it as well for $6.99 a month, as well as the MLB dashboard included. Or you can go separately or just get the MLB dashboard for $4.99 a month. This MLB dashboard is really cool, and by the time we actually get this year's data built into it and whatnot, this thing is going to save so much time. It already saves me time with my plays and you guys time with your plays using last year's data and whatnot, but we just can't use 3 at-bat sample sizes and whatnot. So for now, we're still using 2024 data, but this thing is very helpful. If you are logged in, I'll show you what it looks like if you are logged in over on the MLB dashboard, because it's very simple. So now we're logged in. MLB dashboard, we'll click that, head to it. You can see here, you get each and every game broken out in a visual format. So you can save time researching, right? You come in here and it's like, okay, well, let's look at what we need to look at. All right, cutter. Well, Yankees are kind of not struggling, but compared to their other pitchers, struggling. Fastball, slider. Okay, fastball, slider. It's like this pitch mix stuff is great. We're working on the lineups right now. By the time you guys are even seeing this video, the lineups will be pulled in. I think they are pulled in for some teams like we already saw. But yeah, very cool stuff, guys. And all this white space, there's plenty of stuff that we can add in, but we're not going balls to wall just yet. We want to add things in as necessary versus just adding stuff in that would confuse me and you. So consider becoming a Guy Boston Sports member today. Channel members a little bit different, but again, right up in this membership area over on GuyBostonSports.com. Milwaukee taking on Kansas City. Pitchers in this one looks like Chad Patrick for Milwaukee, who another name that I'm not all that familiar with overall, but he has already played so far this year. He pitched 1 inning and he let up 2 earned runs on a home run with 1 strikeout, 1 walk, and he has an 18 ERA. So I don't know if he's going to be, just kind of like the opener in this spot or anything like that. But on the other side of things, we have Michael Lorenzen, who I've had some choice words about, on this very platform for a couple of years, right? So this is a tough one in terms of looking at either one of these pitchers and wanting to back them. I think what I will do is say, you know what, kind of like the idea of an over. Now, yesterday, obviously, that was a no-brainer. Kansas City goes out there and scores. They scored 11 runs. Milwaukee only scored 1, and I've heard a lot of people saying Milwaukee's offense is this and good and blah, blah, blah. I've been the only one that I've seen being like, I think that this offense is a little curious to me. I don't think that they're fully firing in all cylinders. I mean, that 9-run game against the Yankees, a lot of people are putting weight into that. The Yankees scored 20 runs. obviously they're going to let their foot off the gas. I'd say it's 10 times easier to score 9 runs when you're down 20 than it is when it's a 0-0 game to start the game. I don't know. Maybe that's just my way of thinking about it. So I'm not totally bought into this Milwaukee offense, but I'm not totally bought into Michael Lorenzen either. And he's going to be throwing from the right side. Milwaukee, decent bats at home against the righties. He has a ton of pitches. Cutter, fastball being his main pitch, changeup being his next pitch. Fastball, Milwaukee not the best at, but changeup they hit well. Sinker they hit well. Slider they hit well. Cutter, not so much. But overall, I think this is a decent spot for an over. If I'm picking a side, I guess because we can get plus money for the Royals, I would go in that direction. But at some point, the Royals used all their runs yesterday, and now, the Milwaukee's going to come in with the high-scoring game. But I could see this being like a 5-4 game on either side easily. So I'm going to lean towards the over in this spot, like I said. Probably my favorite look. In terms of player props, we did have one. Let's see if I can pull that back up because I do not have it off the top of my head, so meaning it's probably not going to be a definite play, right? MJ Melendez under 0.5 bases. I think this is a good matchup for him overall. Just 215 batting average against righties, so could be a decent look. Next up, we have St. Louis taking on the Angels. Yesterday's game goes in favor of the Angels. They win that one 5-4. We have Kyle Hendricks on the mound for the Angels, making his first Angels start. He did not play well last year. He didn't. Now, he has some really good numbers over the last couple of years against this St. Louis team. Not necessarily the roster, but the team. We'll get into the roster in a second, but 7 innings pitched on average. Last 3 starts against them. 0.7 ERA. 3.7 strikeouts, not all that great, but 0.7 ERA, right? Averaging just, I think it was under 6 hits per game. If we look at it from a current roster perspective, it looks just as good, right? 95 plate appearances against, 228 average, 256 WOBA, expected batting average of 268, expected WOBA of 288, so not all that bad. I think this could be a spot that, you could definitely make the argument for the Angels again, because I'm not a big buyer into the St. Louis team whatsoever. What I will say, Liberatore on the mound for St. Louis, I think he's the better pitcher, and ultimately, though I'm not a big St. Louis buyer, I think that they have the far better offense. So I am going to lean St. Louis, but even like I said, you could definitely make an argument for the Angels again today. I think the fact that they won yesterday kind of hurts them today because are they really going to rattle off 2 wins in a row, on the road, beginning of the year, that type of a thing. One spot that I'd also consider would be a peek at an under, maybe a first 5 under, because obviously late in the games, we've already seen it, right? Anything, I guess, can happen and kind of throw this away. Like the Angels scored 4 runs, 6th inning on yesterday. So yeah, first 5 would have looked good here. The rest, not so much. So maybe a first 5 look. Am I backing Hendricks? No, but again, he has really good numbers against the St. Louis team, so that's at least in his favor. And then Liberatore going up against an Angels offense shouldn't be all that difficult. So first 5 under 4.5 is probably a spot that I'd peek at. We've been getting a lot of comments being like, too many first. There's never too many something if we're confident in it. I know I roll with a lot of first 5 unders. I do, but I think that's kind of the approach of at least how my brain functions through my research. Like I start with pitcher and pitcher matchup, and then we move our way to the batters kind of related to that. So if I like the pitching matchup versus 2 bad offenses and whatnot, the best way for me to kind of eliminate, we talked about getting rid of the fluff, eliminate variables would be first 5, because you can just say pitcher versus lineup. Like you're probably going to get 5 innings out of your starting pitcher on average, right? So that's kind of why I roll with a lot of first 5 guys. It's almost the most streamlined way to seeing how the game's going to go before it happens, in my opinion. Now, teams that have really good bullpens and whatnot, you can factor that in, and then you can start working in, money line, because they have a bullpen advantage. When I see both these 2 teams and the volatility of their 6, 7, 8, and 9 inning defense and pitching, that's when I'm like, let's trim the volatility and just look at what we have in front of us. So does that make sense? We get a lot of comments being like, why don't you just do money line instead of first 5 and all? It's like, because that's what we feel more confident in. Like you don't always get to pick what you're doing well in or what you're liking, right? But if it's working and if it ain't broke, don't fix it, right? Houston taking on San Fran. Like I said, one of our losers yesterday. I don't really mind this spot here today. I mean, we do have I would say a large pitching discrepancy. Logan Webb on the mound against Hayden Wesnecki, but I think that there's a large offensive discrepancy as well. Now, is this San Francisco team good? Are they better than I think? There's definitely a possibility there, because in their 4 games so far this year, they've scored at least 6 runs in 3 of them. So that's a little worrisome, whereas Houston, who you think of, has all the names and whatnot, right? 3-1-2-1 or 3-1-2-2 in terms of their runs scored. So that's definitely a worry spot for me, but hopefully Hayden Wesnecky can kind of keep his you-know-what together here in this spot. Overall, like, do I think, like I said, do I think he's a good pitcher? Don't really want to go that far overall, but he has had decent games against San Fran when he was with the Cubs. Now he's on a new team, maybe with a little bit of firepower behind him. For a plus number behind this Houston team, I think that's going to be the direction I look at, the home dog. I'll sound the cycle alert alarm because I guess maybe I'm missing something with the San Francisco team, but again, plus money. Houston's offense has to show up at some point, doesn't it? It just has to, so that's going to be a direction that I'm rolling with here. So Houston on the money line. Again, I think that their offense is better. Have we seen it? Hell no. Is Hayden Wesnecky better than Logan Webb? I wouldn't say that, but we're going to get a lot of sinkers, a lot of sliders, a lot of changeups from Logan Webb like we always do, and I don't mind Houston in those spots, and they hit righties fairly well. He does have some decent numbers against them, but I would say they're more kind of middle of the pack than they are decent. So yeah, screw it. Houston on the money line. And I also don't mind an over because, again, I'm not trying to sit here and back Hayden Wesnecky like it's my day job, right? Like I don't think that's going to be the route for them to go and win that route. So maybe a Houston team total over, actually, now that I say it out loud. But I like the over overall in this game too. Player prop spot that I'm considering is going to be Lamonte Wade Jr. under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. Has looked very good to start the year here. He's only had 1 RBI, no hits yet. And I like this matchup. Against right-handed pitcher, his numbers do drop a little bit. His average drops from 260 to 253, WRC plus from 119 down to 115, but Hayden Wesnecky against left-handed batters is what I'm really targeting here. His ERA drops from a 3.8 to a 3.10, batting average against that 219, his WOBA down to 290. He throws a lot of sliders, which this is going to be a pitch that Wade strikes out a decent amount against. The fastball he hits well, the sinker he hits well, the cutter he does not. So 2 of the top 4 pitches should look good. I think I'm willing to take the chances for his under 1.5 hits, runs, and RBIs in this spot overall. Again, you're getting decent odds too, minus 125 for a guy that has kind of been struggling. There's no telling if he'll just erupt today, but overall, based on what I've seen, eye test, and the numbers, I think this could be a decent spot. Seattle taking on Detroit, the game that kind of burned us yesterday, right? We liked the first 5 under, we liked Hancock, and poof, didn't look all that tremendous. Now we have Logan Gilbert on the mound taking on Casey Mize. I think that we could probably run back a first 5 under, but have we seen the total here? Like, you're going to have to get a first 5 under, probably 3.5, which is not the number that I'm used to being all over or liking. I know we saw decent amount of runs yesterday, but again, I don't think that's really in either one of these teams' norms. Like a 9-6 game, I don't think anybody would have seen coming overall. And Logan Gilbert is a stud, right? So I think this is probably going to be a spot where we do consider that first 5 under. It's going to be a matter of, in fact, we can pull up the line now. What can we get here? Under 4.5 is minus 170. That's too much. Under 3.5, under 4. So we have push potential there at minus 130. That could be the look. Because again, I don't believe in either one of these offenses, but we saw yesterday, maybe they used all of their runs, yesterday. We can kind of hope for that. So that's going to be my first look. I don't mind Seattle here either. Yesterday, they lost, but they scored 6 runs. I would say when Seattle scores 6 runs, they're going to win the majority of their games. It just so happened that Detroit got off early and ended up scoring 9 runs. I like Seattle in this spot in terms of what we can get for a money line there. I think I saw minus 165, which minus 170 now, so that's kind of out of there. But maybe a first 5 money line or first 5 run line could be the play. The difference in that, we got a couple comments yesterday. So difference in a first 5 run line, because it's going to be minus 0.5, means they have to be winning after the first 5 innings, right? You have to be up at least 1 run because you have the 0.5 spread in a sense. With a first 5 money line, you could be tied and it's a push because nobody's winning. So right now, Seattle minus 0.5 in the first 5, minus 110. Don't necessarily mind that. If we look at them on the money line, it's probably going to be minus 165. So there is the number that we like seeing. So yeah, I think this is a bounce back spot for Seattle. Trusting Logan Gilbert over Detroit. But again, I don't really like this offense in the first place. So it's going to be tough to see if we end up ultimately rolling with Seattle or if we look at like a first 5 under or a full game under. An added player prop that I'm seeing now that I don't mind is a potential look at Gilbert's under 1.5 walks. I'm not seeing many odds out there for that, but if we can get a good line, then yeah, I think that could be a decent spot overall. And then the other one would be Logan Gilbert to record a win. That's similar to that first 5 run line I was talking about, but we're getting plus 115 for Logan Gilbert. So Logan Gilbert to record a win is definitely kind of on my brain now, as well as him to some degree with his walks. But him to record a win for plus 115 seems like that could be worth a little bit of a sprinkle. So 2 player props there related to him that kind of might work into what I'm looking at getting today. All right, San Diego taking on Cleveland. Allen on the mound for Cleveland. I almost said for San Diego. And Michael King now on the mound for San Diego. I like Michael King. I even said it. I think he's actually an underrated pitcher. Last time he pitched here was against Atlanta, and obviously he didn't look okay. Atlanta got off to a racing start, but then San Diego came back and reeled it in and ended up winning that game, right? So we have that spot where he let up, 1 home run, 4 walks, 3 runs, only a couple cut strikeouts in like 2 1/3, something like that. I don't think Cleveland's necessarily going to do that to him. Logan Allen is what I would consider a good pitcher, but someone that I do struggle to, justify and back often. So I think what I would do here is maybe a San Diego team total over. If we could get them at, minus 160, then I do like the money line because I like the idea of, I think that their bullpen can compete with Cleveland's. Cleveland's good bullpen. But overall, Michael King, I think, is going to be in a far better spot than he was in that first game. But minus 170 is a little bit too much, right? So if we take a peek at their over 3.5 yet again, this could be a decent spot. In 2 of their last 3 games against Cleveland, they've went out there and scored 7 runs, including yesterday's game. So yeah, I think this could be a fair spot. Logan Allen's going to throw a ton of different pitches, fastball, cutter, splitter. Some of these pitches, San Diego hits really well. Some of them, obviously, not so much. He is a lefty, and San Diego's not all that great against lefties. So I think that is worth noting, but I still think they're the far better offense. So the only thing I'd really look at here is probably tying the 2 in, right? Money line and total, and looking at the team total over, eliminating all variables. San Diego team total over 3.5. Probably my main look in this one. And then no player props that I'm liking. Tried to kind of get to Michael King because I think he's going to have a better game. But his lines are still fairly high, 16.5 outs, 5.5 strikeouts. Maybe we could look at his under and walks if it's not priced out, but you know what I mean? Like it's almost like it's expected based on these odds and value we're seeing, or lack thereof, that everyone thinks Michael King is going to have a better start than he did in opening day. All right, we got the A's taking on the Cubs. You could see we changed the graphic. Now the Athletics have their official abbreviation there, the F, which is going to take some getting used to, but at least it is the same colors here. On the mound for this Chicago team is going to be Justin Steele going up against Luis Severino. Both these guys have pitched already to start the year, so that's good. We have, last year's data and already some this year's data to go off of. Justin Steele, I would say looked meh compared to what he is, but he went up against Arizona, in 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 home run, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, 3 earned runs, not all that great. Luis Severino, not gonna lie, kind of dealt, and I'm here calling for a down year for Luis Severino. He went 6 innings, 0 earned runs, 6 strikeouts. He did walk 4 guys. I would want to make that clear. That is a struggle sort of spot because this team, Chicago, last season, the 5th highest walked team, and against righties, the 3rd highest. And when they're on the road against righties, the 2nd highest. So I do think we could see some walks out of Louis today, which may not yield the best sort of situation because they're not going up against, the Mariners now. They're going up against the Cubs, who do have, obviously, some firepower in them, which, if you didn't know, they scored 18 runs yesterday. We had them on the money line, and I think we might go right back to that again today. I think that we're getting good odds because of, Severino and I guess what he has already done in a sense, and he's looked good this year and that type of thing. So I do get it, but overall, he hasn't had the best of games. Well, I guess I shouldn't say this. He's had some good games, some bad games against Cubs. He's got some decent numbers, but I wouldn't say anything better than Justin Steele. So I'm going to lean towards the Cubs in this spot. I think you're still getting some really good value on the team that I truly believe is the better offense, and quite possibly, unless I'm wrong above Severino, which could definitely be the case. I know there's a lot of people high on him. I still think that you could be having the better pitcher on the Chicago side of things as well. Only thing that worries me is that Chicago is on the road, and that's kind of about it. But, other than that, give me Chicago on the money line. In terms of a total, what we're looking at here right now is 8.5. I like the under. As if I'm going to give Severino any sort of credit here, it's that he's not a terrible pitcher, right? I think he's just going to have a regression year, but still be good enough to hopefully suppress the Chicago team that is on the road. So I'm seeing maybe a 5-3 win or 4-3 win type of a thing for this Chicago Cubs team. All right, Dodgers taking on Atlanta, and you got Chris Sale on the mound going up against Dustin May for plus 140. I think that's probably what I'd take a peek at. Atlanta is bound to get a win at some point. The Dodgers are bound to at least lose a game at some point, and you do have Chris Sale, who is obviously a phenomenal pitcher and has some really good numbers against this Dodgers team. So I'm going to trust him over May. So I think that's kind of as far as this take on this game would go. I see a low scoring game via the total, right, at 7.5. That tells me that this is not going to be a bomb squad type of a game for the Dodgers, or at least it shouldn't be. And Chris Sale, I do obviously and I do think is in a fair situation. I mean, he's going to throw a ton of the slider and fastball, but anything you look at, the Dodgers can hit. But again, it's kind of me tying the price tag to Cy Young, Chris Sale. So yeah, give me the Atlanta Braves in this spot. If you can still get them at plus 130, I think that is the move. This offense has been horrific. Last 3 games, they've only scored 1 run combined. That's really, really worrisome. But to me, we look at Dustin May and it's he's been pretty damn good. I think it's more so that Dodgers are the team that's backing him. And Chris Sale had a good start last time out against this Dodgers team. So if anyone's going to do it, I would say it's probably him. But again, I think Atlanta at some point is going to win a game, and why not back Chris Sale at a huge plus number? Very rarely, unless you're playing a team like the Dodgers, which there's not many of those out there, very rarely are you going to get Chris Sale with that price tag behind him. You know what I mean? So that's the direction I'd go in. I'd also consider an under, because I think Dustin May is also a decent pitcher. I mean, I think Chris Sale's better, but still a good pitcher. So I'm going to trust that those odds are that line is where it's supposed to be at 7.5. I'm going to lean towards the under. That's going to wrap it up for today's show, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, you know exactly what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Like I said, appreciate all the support on the MLB videos to start the year. We are grinding our asses off over here doing MLB and NBA. Other guys on the channel kicking ass too, so really do appreciate all of the support. So yeah, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.